We are back again with another Lovecraft horror, which many of you have read about in the book Horror in the Museum or have encountered in the game Call of Cthulhu. What, you don't know about Dimension Shamblers? In that case, you must know that, like most Lovecraft horrors, this one also emerges from another dimension and is undoubtedly a powerful monster you dare not ignore. If this much has already intrigued you enough, refrain from skipping the video because today's video will be about the Dimension Shamblers. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What is Cthulhu Mythos? Cthulhu Mythos is a universe of elements, characters, settings, and themes that share some common traits and belong to the world of cosmic horror created by notable author H.P. Lovecraft. Also known as Lovecraftian horror, it is a subgenre of horror fiction and weird fiction about a world oblivious to humankind. It is a universe beyond supernatural elements, a universe of non-human, evil entities incomprehensible to humanity. The term was initially coined by author August Derleth, although the legendary tales are also called Lovecraft Mythos. Cthulhu Mythos has also inspired other horror fiction writers who have created stories that are part of the mythos. The fiction stories of the Cthulhu Mythos have two stages of development, as mentioned by Robert M. Price in his essay H.P. Lovecraft and Cthulhu Mythos. The first stage formed during Lovecraft's timeline when stories created under the mythos happened with Lovecraft's guidance. The latter stage took shape after Lovecraft's death, when writer August Derleth expanded the Cthulhu mythos. Writer Richard L. Tierney later used the term Derleth mythos to distinguish the works of Lovecraft from that of Derleth. Elements created by other authors related to the Lovecraft mythos were not separate stories, but deliberately designed to be part of the Cthulhu mythos. For example, author Robert E. Howard and Lovecraft often used references or elements of each other's setting in their works, like Robert's The Children of the Night, where Friedrich von Junst reads Lovecraft's Necronomicon. In turn, Lovecraft's Out of the Aeons and The Shadow Out of Time mention Robert's Unaussprechlichen Kulten. Author David E. Schultz, a Lovecraft scholar, mentioned that Lovecraft never meant to create a Cthulhu mythos. In fact, the elements appearing in his stories were meant to serve as a background element. Lovecraft used the term pseudo-mythology to describe the beings appearing in his tales as a backdrop, not the primary elements. Instead, towns like Arkham were the cornerstone of his stories, not entities like Cthulhu. Since Lovecraft created the non-human elements as a background element, he might not have even meant to name them. Cthulhu Mythos was purely coined by Derleth, who did not quite understand Lovecraft's vision and, thus, ended up giving his tales a name. Whatever that thing may be, this Cthulhu mythos consists of the Cthulhu, a monstrous entity with an octopus-like head, vast wings, and a towering humanoid body. Have you heard the phrase dead but dreaming? It is often used to describe Cthulhu's state. Why? Because he lies in a death-like slumber beneath the ocean in the underwater city of Raleigh, located in the Southeast Pacific. However, this phrase emphasizes that his return is inevitable, although he is inactive now. But when the stars align just right, Raleigh will rise from the ocean and Cthulhu will awaken to wreak havoc upon the world. However, Cthulhu is not the most powerful being in the mythos. It is Azathoth, a mindless and all-powerful deity who exists at the center of the universe, or in the true center of the mythos. While Azathoth sits mindlessly at the center of the universe, his avatar carries out his will. Who is this avatar? It is Nyarlathotep, a shape-shifting being far more engaged with humanity than the other deities because it can disguise itself as a tall, slim, and joyous man. The central theme of the Cthulhu mythos is that humans reside inside a bubble, unaware of a world lurking with ancient and powerful beings beyond our comprehension. Origin of the Dimensional Shambler. Dimensional Shamblers are a race of humanoid monsters from an altogether different dimension, one of the most fascinating and mysterious among all the beings of the Cthulhu mythos, first appearing in H.P. Lovecraft's story, The Horror in the Museum. We need more information about Dimensional Shamblers, but know they can jump through dimensions. However, their ultimate motive is yet unknown. Some theories suggest that these beings serve the outer gods and the great old ones, but whether they still work under them or roam through dimensions of their free will is still a mystery. What makes the Dimensional Shamblers terrifying is their ability to appear almost everywhere. So you never really know when you'll encounter one of these beings, but they never linger in the same place for a while. The most disturbing feature of the Shamblers is that even though they are visible to the eyes and seem physically present, no one can touch them or harm them, probably because they are from a different dimension. These evil entities are short, crouching creatures whose skin resembles a mummy's. It has a semi-ape-like head and crooked, stained fangs. They have long hands with large claws, a shapeless face, with empty eyes that appear as yellow slits. The Shamblers are believed to inhabit a lower dimension described as a long, gray, oozing plain beneath skies where fumes of hell were writhing like a million ghostly and distorted dragons. Thousands, maybe even more, of these horrifying beings live in this place, and the poor humans who get sucked into this place end up with their minds and souls eaten by these Shamblers. Anatomy of the Dimensional Shamblers. Dimensional Shamblers have vaguely human-like features with smooth, semi-ape heads. Their lack of facial features adds to their eerie presence. Although they can destroy humans with claws, they possess more horrific abilities. They can appear almost anywhere. No spell, no magic, nothing can stop these beings from emerging. The only way to stop a Shambler is by creating a magical ward, too small for an evil to appear inside. Once the Shambler arrives, it grabs its victims with its claws and pulls them into their dimension, or the Nothing, where it tortures these victims brutally. Dimensional Shamblers, habitat and behavior. Dimensional Shamblers hunt solo and feed by kidnapping humans. What is even more unsettling is the way they feed on these humans. Once they appear on Earth and pull their victim into nothing, they produce an almost invisible astral trail. As the Shambler starts to pull his victim into his home dimension, the astral trail links the two realities. It sets up an energy differential between them, one universe being more energetic than the other. The Shamblers feed off this energy as this energy starts to travel across the astral trail and survive. The Dimensional Shamblers wisely choose the universes in which they deposit their victims. They usually do not pick any too dangerous dimensions because they want their victims to survive, at least for a few hours, before they devour them. However, they are capable if the victim gets mad in another universe. The terrifying powers of Dimensional Shamblers. Dimensional Shamblers possess powers that make them one of a kind. But what makes these creatures the most terrifying of the lot? Let's dive into the abilities and unsettling manner in which the Shamblers prey on their victims. Dimensional Shamblers can be summoned into our dimension through certain spells or pure willpower. Once they sense they have been called, there is no stopping them. These evil creatures usually target the weak and use a kind of hypnosis to suck them into their world. However, people with strong will can evade this hypnotic force, breaking free from their mental grip. When a Shambler starts to pull its target, it feels like the ground is slipping away. The place around the Shambler begins to fade away, and their home dimensions slowly become visible. Dimensional Shamblers frequently disappear and again appear suddenly in another place. This volatility of these Shamblers make them scary, as they can close distances between themselves and their victims in the blink of an eye. Behind the Mythos Explored. The Dimensional Shambler is different from what you find in the story Horror in the Museum, the game Call of Cthulhu, and the one you encounter in the story Hunters from Beyond. The Dimensional Shambler found in Horror in the Museum has black coloration resembling half ape and half insect, and these are tall, towering figures. However, when you compare this creature with the 1932 Dimensional Shambler from Hunters from Beyond, you find a difference in the coloration coloration, where these creatures look more pale gray and not black. Moreover, these creatures are more canine-like, unlike half-apes and half-insects. These are sometimes compared with apes, but there is a slight difference. Now, compare these creatures with the game Call of Cthulhu. Let's have a quick recap of what we already know. So, in Call of Cthulhu, you will find short, crouching figures with tight, gray, mummy-like skin and heads resembling a semi-ape and semi-canine beast with stained crooked fangs in the mouth. You will find recessed deep holes with yellow slits in the eyes, and its long arms with massive claws make it more terrifying than ever. So, if you now recall the descriptions minutely, you will notice that, except for the ape-like feature, there are more numerous differences between the appearances here. Many people believe there is a difference between the dimensional shambler of Horror in the Museum and Hunters from Beyond, because the shambler in the museum are long dead and are merely preserved hide. On the other hand, shamblers in the Hunter from Beyond are incapable of interacting with the tangible world, which raises the question of whether these deceased specimens could even be tangible enough to get preserved. The question remains, what's your opinion regarding this? Tell us in the comments section while we move to the next part of this video, where we will explore the shamblers in D&D and Pathfinder. Dimensional Shamblers in D&D and Pathfinder. The first appearance of the Shamblers in Pathfinder occurs through the Wake of the Watcher of the Carrion Crown Adventure Path, where you will encounter sadist and savage Shamblers who are ready to crush down and destroy non-Shambler sapiens most brutally. In Pathfinder, Shamblers constantly explore the multiverse for unknown reasons. However, some believe it can come from the sheer pleasure of torturing a non-Shambler sapient, or they may have an unknown goal they want to achieve while visiting these other dimensions, except theirs. Some also believe that it could be due to some pleasure-filled addiction merely out of curiosity, or because they want some strange form of nutrition. Whatever the reason, remember one thing: it is not smoother for a shambler to adapt to all planes. Thus, they are always searching for a talisman that will help them expand their travel horizon. However, these creatures lack defined intellect in Pathfinder, but they can use magic to travel across planes without hassle and bring unwilling victims across the dimensions. They can also counter other magical spells and even raw power with their specialized knowledge. Another exciting fact you must know here is that those who want to cross the dimensions often summon these shamblers while conducting a blood sacrifice ritual, including pure metal blades, mathematics, and runes. However, this combination differs from shamblers to shamblers. What about D&D? Sadly, D&D has little information about the shamblers, although, according to two third-party sources, Sandy Peterson's Cthulhu Mythos 5th edition Splatbook and Tome of Beast by Kobold Press mention it. Marvelous verdict. So with that, we come to the video's end. Please tell us what you think about this video. Do you think we could have explored it more? Do you want a second video on Dimension Shamblers? What would you like us to explore there? Tell us all that in the comments section below while we sign off today, and we promise to bring a more thrilling video soon. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe out there. Thanks, everyone.